all you cool cats and kittens? It is Friday, it is Motion RC Live, and actually it's 2 weeks since we went actually live because last week was the unveiling or the announcement of the Flightline OV10 Bronco. I have it on the table today, but pretty much all the videos out there are going to tell you everything you need to know about the OV10, and I got Cali graphics on the way because I am going to re-scheme that baby so she is broken down into all her individual parts and in the paint booth as we speak. So I just want to make sure, A, if you guys can hear me, which, I hope you can. I think you can, because it's been about, again, 2 weeks since we went live. And I plan on, again, now that we're all in quarantine, maybe next week we'll start doing some of those middle of the week live stuff, but we'll always be here Friday at 12. And today we have an exciting show for you. I'm excited that Motion RC is back in the FPV game. They used to carry some FPV products back in the day, but then we sort of got out of it. And FPV was always something, Alex does the chase video. I'll show you here of the OV10. I mean, this is all him. And again, I'm doing the show by myself, but he loves FPV, especially with his chase quad. And when back in the day, that's basically what I started with FPV. So I never thought I'd be able to fly line a sight. It looks so hard watching people do it, and I'm like, I'm never going to get the whole orientation thing. So then somebody, I played video games in the past, so somebody said, put on some goggles. And then I flew a plane, flew a quad with it, and it made it so easy. And then when I took the goggles off, I started to see in the air what the plane was doing, and it helped my orientation, knowing, all right, left is right. Like I started visualizing myself out the cockpit. So I'm excited to get back to FPV, and we have a couple of awesome options in front of you. So we just got these on the website maybe 2 weeks ago. One of the bundle packages already sold out quick. We had it in the emailer. I don't know if you saw about a week and a half ago, but I got them both. These are our two options. So they are your basic goggles, but all the features you need to get started comes in the bundle, and then the little camera you get that you can either buy separate from ZOHD or include in the bundle. It just works fantastic, and we'll get to this in a little bit because I got a chance to drive the tank around with the kids out in my yard. They love that, putting the goggles on and being able to drive in front of it. Works great for tanks. And then the Shrike, I just mounted one up here, just made a couple little cuts and a little glue to mount the camera on the, on the canopy there. And again, I went out to a park, I went rogue a little bit, just went to an open area that I could find and threw the Shrike up for a little bit because she's not really intimidating of a flyer, but it was great to get that experience back there again with the FPV. It's calming, it's different, and I'm excited to start tossing it around now. I feel like I have to fly a jet with FPV. It's just a matter of how am I going to land that bird in a high alpha with with the FPV on the nose. But we'll start and work our way up, probably with a Lipish. I think the Lipish is going to be my first FPV jet. But what I wanted to do today, because it's been a while, obviously, since we did the live show in, regular. Been 2 weeks since we did the actual live show. But the last couple times we had so much to talk about, we didn't really get around the community. So it's not going to take a full hour to go over what's in front of me on the table. So I was just picking through the last few days some of the best stuff that I'd seen during quarantine, popping through Hobby Squawk, through Facebook, through YouTube. And I wanted to just jump in here and share some of that. So let's take a tour, if you will, around the community and see some of the fun stuff, call out some names. And the first one, actually, which I thought was super funny, was Rudy Villarreal, or Villarreal. He posted this, and it's him and his son with models. I saw this pop up on the community, and I thought this was absolutely hysterical that they did this. I mean, they made it look so much fun, added sound effects, and it was just, this is what people do. This is what modelers would do in the quarantine of their house, but with the real noises and such. I got a real kick out of that when he put it up. That was super fun, and just want to call him out, Rudy. That gave us a good laugh and looks like a good time. And just overall, really well done. I bet your son got a kick out of it. I should have been. So, bravo to you. That was fantastic. And even the inside the cockpit shot was so funny. I love that they even stuck the camera in there with the heli noises. I mean, just bravo. Bravo. Good work to you. Next one we'll head over to is Chris DeGraff, who's working on what appears to be a P8 Poseidon, I believe. But what he did, and he posted the files, he's got STL files for universal camera mounts. That'll work basically for any plane, but obviously the AL-37 with the wide fuselage, you can cut out the foam, glue this piece in, dig it in there, and then you could replace it with a bunch of mounts. So check that out. That's a GoPro mount you're looking at. So anyone who's ever attached a GoPro, and here he has it on, he did it on the bottom, and I guess you could do it on the top anywhere. And here's a shot from the GoPro that he posted. That's a really cool looking shot, and no worry about the, and no worry about your, sorry Alex, I'll watch my volume on the clips, my bad. No worry about the, what's it called, thing falling out, like putting Velcro with a run cam or something. This is a real mount that can live there, but I love that, I'll go back to that one shot here of the flat surface, so if you painted that, when you're not using the camera, it'll look flush. So it's like, it's not just a mount, it can be, it can be anything you want with just a couple of screws. So I thought that was really well done. And again, he posted the STL files on our customer community. I'll go back and ask him if he could pop those on Hobby Squawk too, because that's just really, really, really well thought out. Next one I saw was the two yaks coming from, I believe, Gauthier Vanderberg. These were amazing looking schemes. I assume Cali graphics, I think is what he said, because who doesn't get graphics from Cali? But that is the 70mm yak and the 90mm yak, and with some nice cockpit detail as well. Obviously, excuse the bubbling, that's what happens to all of us, but when you get the, when you get a chance to, I love the same scheme in two different sizes, like a father and son team. I don't know if they did this over the quarantine, but this is what a lot of people are doing, and they look absolutely fantastic. I love that. Just the verticals look absolutely awesome. So great work to you. And again, if I'm butchering your name, Gauthier Vandenberg is how I would pronounce it. So whether I'm right or wrong, that's sort of just how it goes. But looks absolutely fantastic. Then the next one we got to call out. I mean, this guy pops up all the time. It's Manu. And if I say your last name, Manu, I will butcher it. Manu Muad'Dib. I had his B-24s as the covers on both the Motion RC community and our Facebook page for a while. But he started working on canopies of his T-33. So here, as we go through, this guy's like an artist. He's a true artist when it comes to the detailing work. Top-notch stuff. I believe it. I'm going to assume he 3D printed some of the parts for these and then just gets to work making it look just unbelievable, the level of detail in there. It's something that I would aspire to. I mean, look at those pilot figures. He even makes the glass in front of the eyes look like it's, like it's shiny and different than the pilot without. I mean, just really a lot of work goes in. And then you could see most of his planes are easily recognizable because he goes heavy on the panel lines and the detail, but it just looks so fantastic. If I could ever make a plane look like that, that would be something I'd aspire to as well. He just really takes things to another level. So I can't wait to see this German T-33 in all its glory at the field. Next one was Patrick Bowen I saw pop in, and this was a lighter weathering job on his A10 that I thought was absolutely fantastic. I love the decal. If somebody could call out, is that a real scheme? I believe he said he got it from Cali, but I'm not sure if it's a real scheme, but I love the death on the nose of the A10 because that's about what the A10 can bring when she's in all her glory. So absolutely gorgeous. And he went lighter with the weathering, much lighter than, say, I did 2 weeks back when I had the 64mm A10. I went heavy to show it, but that looks just dirty enough, but still clean enough to be, truly real, which, you know, great work by Patrick Bowen. Thank you so much again for sharing it. John Cardell, he turned his Rebel into a Goshawk, so I always thought that was cool. For a second, I thought it was the Bayhawk when I saw it pop up. I'm like, oh, okay, he turned it to the Goshawk, but it's actually the Rebel. And the Rebel, you know, for anyone been around EDFs, the Rebel was probably something a lot of pilots learned how to fly EDFs on when it first came out. So still a great model for that purpose. You know, great way to begin, but it's nice to see so many people taking to their models, and because this is, if you can't fly, this is what you should be doing, is stuff like this. So good work on you, John Cardell. Then, for any of you guys might know Victor Chekchenko, I always forget how to pronounce that name, but he helps us out a lot over on the West Coast with shows and events. He met up with Jeremy Salt and Justin Lamb for the Arizona Electric Festival. He goes to St. George. Used to do it with Tony and Evelyn as well. Just a real pilot in real life, but he's got a few of his, you know, freewing. That is the Havoc on the bottom left. That's our Skynetic Havoc. He did it up as a Miss America Reno Race Mustang. Then he actually got the USAF T-33 and put it in a silver German scheme, which was cool. And he's been getting out there and getting on Hobby Squawk and such. So I just love the Havoc. It really takes that platform, because the Havoc itself, it has all the lines of a P-51. So when you put it in a real P-51 like Reno Race scheme, it works. It just works perfectly if that's something you want to do. Sort of like how the Avanti, you could put it in like a Goshawk scheme. I saw William Jackson, I think, has one. And it almost looks like a scale aircraft at first glance, obviously. But then this might have been my favorite thing that popped up. Just one picture. But the F9F Panther as a Black Panther. Wesley, if you didn't smash my Captain America Lippish, I would have battled this Black Panther. Everything about this picture is perfect, from the black cat to the figure to, you know, the all-black paint job and the decals. That looks awesome. I'm a big fan of Marvel, so I got a good laugh out of that one. And again, I'll leave it up there for a couple seconds while we continue on. Then we got help from Tony Jensen. He has put together one of our latest Black Horse releases. It's the Gilmore. So he is ready to go, ready for maiden. He's got a 60cc equivalent electric motor up front there. I believe he's not running it on gas at the moment. But I saw this plane fly a long time ago, because Black Horse has had it. They've done some upgrades to it, I believe, since I saw it. But, Wes, I didn't smash your Mustang, brother. You got me. You got me. Yours survived, mine didn't. So, you know. But the Gilmore, absolutely gorgeous Black Horse balsa. It was one that I wished that might have came my way. I'm still working on getting that Zero up. And obviously the rush really isn't there, because who knows when our field's going to open up. But the Gilmore is a sexy aircraft. I saw the gas version of it a long time ago in the Netherlands from a Tom de Vert. He pops up on our customer community from time to time, and he's on YouTube. But when I used to go to the Netherlands for my old company, we used to fly at his field, and he had one. And it's stunning in real life. It's a really beautiful aircraft. So Tony is he's all over the Squawk forums. He posts a lot of build during this. So if you want information on that model, check out Hobby Squawk. Now getting to some videos. Justin Lamb, good friend of ours, he got out with his T-33.
Justin out here in Salt Lake City, Utah.
We're
doing some flying. It's a little bit gusty and windy today.
Alex is going to get on me.
T-33, and I just got a GPS to register the speed on this. Beautiful mountains.
And he had a GPS on his T-33 and was just whipping bottom.
Second to make a...
And I don't know if we have the altitude here in Georgia to get these level of speeds, but man. Woo!
That's really ducking
that
out of the way.
Thing just zips by. And then checking his radar, he said he got it up to 150, but on these passes, when he posted, he did this live on Facebook one morning, and 142, so that's just stopped.
42 miles an hour. It was probably doing 130 plus as it came across the runway here. So fantastic flying.
So good work, Justin. Then you see him in the chat.
Guys,
Here
welcome
is
back to the Merry Boozers RC channel.
Volume.
Today we've got our MiG-21.
Wesley Miller.
back
Sorry,
out
got to
here
work
for
on my
another
volume
flight.
control.
You saw the Maiden.
But
Now
he
we're gonna
released
get out
2
there
videos
and
this
we're
week
gonna really rip it up.
of the MiG-21. I'm going to try not to talk over him. I can't hear him while I'm watching this.
Taxi it out. Free-wing MiG-21.
But Wesley makes it look amazing. His full
man.
performance flight is awesome and makes me want to. That's one of the
Love
models.
this
That's
model,
one of the
guys.
very few models I've yet to
one notch
fly
of
yet.
flaps even
I've
to
seen
take
it fly. I've filmed it numerous times, but I've never flown that one myself. And he makes it look so easy every single time.
Gear going up, flaps going up.
Love that takeoff. That was just half flaps.
About half throttle right now, guys. Just coasting along here. We're going to turn it down the runway now, right down center line, full throttle. And pull it up at the end, let's do the vertical. Power off, we're coasting. All right, let's do some slow flight transition here. We've got 1 notch of flaps coming in, 2nd notch of flaps coming in, getting it slow. Pulling that nose
I love
up.
the high alpha stuff. When you were getting into that, Wes, you look like you were having a grand old time. And I love obviously the riveting and the detail, but I love the slow. Something about that wing shape would make me nervous to fly it that slow, but you handled it easily as expected.
We're going to turn it back in. Little knife edge. Should have called it out to you. Sorry, we'll do it this way better this time. Knife edge. Won't quite hold it straight and level.
Yeah, and Lori doing excellent camera work there as well. Every video,
Nice
from them
axial
is
roll,
getting better and better. But when you got flying like that, smooth like that, makes it a lot easier on the cameraman.
Do it a little lower this time. Axial roll. Well, I screwed it up. Happened. I'm only human, guys.
Nice. So there you have it, guys. That was a little tour around. I wanted to end it there, but a little tour around the community, and I want to get back to doing that every Friday, you know, because I want this to be more of a show than, let's say, just anything goes, you know. Every time you tune in to this show, we hopefully taught you something, maybe showed you something you didn't know was on the website, talked about whatever is new or something that hasn't been spoken about. You know, we always want to do something here, and again, I thank all of you for joining us this Friday. So now let's get to, I'm seeing, just want to check the comments quick, see what people are talking about, because again, I am running these shows now on my own, while Alex, you know, we're keeping our proper social distancing from everyone, so it gets a little crazier. But again, we're here to talk about the Fpv sets. So we have 2 sets that you see here. Now, functionality-wise, if anybody's never flown FPV before, the 2 packages we're offering, we have 1 camera that is here. It's very small, but perfect application for tanks, for planes, and we'll get into it. And then our 2 cameras, our 2 goggle sets. Basically, everything here is perfect beginner set for FPV. You know, if you're somebody interested in long-range FPV, things like that, no, this isn't what you want. But if you've never done it before and you wanted to give it a shot, this is perfect. And for someone like me who probably is just going to use FPV on aircraft when I'm at the field and I don't need, you know, I'm not looking to fly away from myself, I'm not looking to do long-range missions and all crazy stuff, I would never really need to advance any farther than this, because it gives you everything that you're going to want out of out of your FPV setups. And both goggles, the only real difference of them is the size of the screens and the resolutions. Everything that comes in the bundle package, you get the 2 antennas. One is a patch and one is like circular polarized. So basically the patch, if you're flying, you want to fly out in front of you. If I had 2 patches on the goggles and I flew behind myself or to the side, you'd lose signal. But you'd be very strong when you're in front. But then the circular polarized, that's going to give you the full signal. So you give yourself diversity when you use one of each. And so, you know, if it happens, if you're FPV, you might go over your head or something. But either way, the signal strength is more than enough where I never lost signal doing either setup. And I went about as far away as I'd ever want to go in each one. So real quick, I have some pics of, let's start with the 5-inch goggle set. So as you see, they're sitting on top of the case. So that's the case that comes with the goggle set. Again, nice, you know, nice case, something to keep it in, keep it, you know, when you open up the case, that's how you're going to see your set there. They have 2 red piece of rubber over the antenna thing, so nothing gets in there. Is it true diversity or antenna diversity, Robinson? I mean, it's going to give you true diversity. I mean, it gives you basically everything you'd want in your FPV. Again, for beginners, this is how you would start, and you probably never need to upgrade. So then taken out, you get 4 cables. Well, you get your 2 antennas and you get 2 cables. One's just your standard USB charger, and then one is going to be like a microphone to the yellow jack for video in. So if you wanted to plug into your goggles from something else, you can use the goggles to, let's say, plug into a TV or something. If you want to play a video game through your goggles, you could use that with some adapters and such, but that's basically the idea if you wanted to use the screen in the goggles for something else. So there you see everything laid out that comes in the box with the goggles. And then on top, here are all your features. So you have a couple. So again, A and B are your antennas, and it doesn't really matter which one you put in which place. But, you know, I just follow the instructions, put the patch on the A side, the circular one on the B. But you have your search button. So that's beautiful. When you first plug in your camera and you turn on your goggles, you might see a picture, but it might be staticky, and you might think, oh, this is how it is. It's probably because certain channels on FPV could pick up the same signal but not as strong. So if you hit the search feature, it will cycle through all 5 bands that it does, because we have all 5 bands are available on, you know, on the goggles. It'll find each one. So A, B, E, F, and R bands circularly, and 8 channels per band. So you got 40 different frequencies in essence that you can find, and when you hit the search button, that's the first thing I did, it cycles through all of them and then immediately clicks to the one that you want. So obviously when you do that, just make sure your camera is the only one on in the area so you get your camera, but there's that. Then you have your menu, so you push and hold long, that'll turn it on, and then when you push that, and we could show that in a little bit, you get to all your menu features, things you want to change. But then you have a channel up and down button, so that's you finding your channel. You have a record option, because you can put up to a 32 gigabyte card in there, and you can record, so very easily to put that on. And then you have the band button on the way right. So that gives you the ability, again, to change bands. So, you know, if you and a buddy are going to go fly FPV, you can be on the same band, but you want to be about 3-4 channels apart from each other. You want to try not to be 2 channels apart from each other in that sense. So then looking forward, you do have the ability to get audio through them. So that'll depend on what you're trying to get audio from. You know, you're not getting audio from the camera that we're selling currently, but that's something for people who want something a little more advanced. And then the other side, that's where you're plugging in your charger. And it took me about 30 minutes to fully charge. And it just the red light on top will stay red, and then it'll go green when you're fully charged. So that takes us back to me. All right, so that was the first set. So that's the more expensive set. And again, the only difference is the screen size. 5 inches versus 4.3, and the resolution you can get up to. What is it? You could get up to, well, this one is 480 by 272. but this one is 800 by 480. So you could get a little more resolution, but push come to shove, that's all going to be depending on what signal you're picking up. So the camera only does it one way. Both signals looked identical. Both screens looked identical to me when I tried them both out the other day. But I've got a pretty thick head. I don't know about any of you guys, but I'm the type of person, I can't find a pair of sunglasses in your local gas station. All the cool, cheap sunglasses, none of them ever fit my face. They always do this on the sides, so I have to get like custom stuff. But something like this fits me just fine. And they actually have nice padding around your eyes, where I'm getting very little light, maybe a little bit right here through my nose, but they fit perfectly. I don't have any fear that they're going to fall off, and I got full full view. Obviously, you always look silly when you're wearing these things, but I do love the soft cushioning around the side. It's better than some other ones, that I went to. Like, you don't need to go super expensive on these. And then the 4.3, let's show you some of the pictures of that. And I'll get to questions in a little bit, guys, so hold on your questions. I'm just going to run through my little spiel while I'm going, but let's get to this. So this is the top of the 4.3-inch version of our FPV goggles. And you can see you got all the same functionality, the placement is just different. So your band and channel are over on the right side, you have your record, you have your SD slot, you have your charge slot, you have the audio jack, and then your menu and your band search is going to be on the left. And again, you still get both, of the antennas on top. So the A and the B. Then coming through, again, the padding made exactly the same way, just as comfortable. And that's just a top view. These I took about 10 minutes before I went live because I forgot I didn't have these pictures in there yet. But you see the SD card, it's a little groove on the top, and I'll show you in a sec of where you put it in. But overall, just a nice set of goggles. Nothing too, too special. Again, we're not trying to say it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, but perfect for what you want to do. So now the 4.3, when you hold them up together, you can see obviously one screen is about, one's just a little thicker, and it doesn't widen out. But this one widens out at the side, so even for Mr. Big Head like me, I can get in there, and same thing. They fit perfectly. I'm not feeling any like plastic touching my face. They're nice and comfortable. And when I used them both the other day, I didn't really have any discernible difference. It really probably comes down to just what's your preference. You know what I mean? Which one looks better to you? And then I'm almost thinking of calling Callie and so give her the dimensions of this. Make us some cool graphics for our FPV setup. Like, I don't know, I want like eagle's eyes on there or something. But, so that is the goggles that we have. And I'll show you, I have some footage that I recorded from here. So I will get there. HD FPV is almost affordable now. Come on. Oh, man. Yeah, Alex talking about our old Connex days. Connex was the first system that went HD, and we got a chance to try it out, and it's gorgeous, and it's the type of thing, use something like this first, see if you even like flying FPV, and then build your way up, because the one thing about FPV, it's more stuff you're putting into your plane, more stuff that you can lose, if you do have an accident. So, can unboxing video, less chantiers? Yeah, well, I'm going to plug them in, start them up. I mean, what you saw in those pictures is how it comes out. There's not much to it. It's just, you take it out, your goggles are already there, you screw in your antennas like you would like the old cable, like a cable box. You screw them in, and then you just push the on button and go. And we'll get to that in a second. I'll plug it in and try to show you on here. And then we get to the camera itself. So the camera comes from ZOHD. Anybody who's ever been into FPV might know ZOHD. They're a good brand. And this is a great camera. We thought it was perfect for the application because it is virtually foolproof as far as its functionality. I hadn't done FPV in a while myself or set one up. And James, the VTX all built into the camera. Yeah, just plug it into a JST lead. You'll see in a second, Dave, as I flip through these pictures. We got ZOHD, so that's how it opens up. You see everything is there. So they have a lens cap on the camera lens itself, but the antenna is already connected, and the JST cable, this is how it looks when you pull it out. And then everything is exposed though, so when you do have this plugged in, it will get warm, so you don't want to be touching the back too much. And one thing I always remember from the FPV days, the oil on your fingers, you don't want to touch the antenna too much at the top. The exposed antennas, you know, like the ones on the goggles are encased in plastic. So I wouldn't go touching the antennas too much, because if you've ever touched like just a glass window and you see how much oil comes off your fingers, you know, or anybody who's ever touched the canopy of their plane on the inside when you're putting it back on and then noticed it after that there's oil on the inside, you get the idea. The thing does get hot, and it gets super hot because we'll explain this camera can do 4 different outputs. So I was only flying at 25 milliwatt, but you can go 200 or 400. So make sure you have your cooling, and we'll get there in a second. But that's a front view of the camera. Danny Miller, you can always use 2 cameras, but you'd have to put the cameras on a switch. You'd have to get a switcher with both cameras on the same frequency, I guess, you know, to do it. I mean, we used to do it back in the day. You could probably do it. But then they give you a Velcro comes with the camera, which I have on the Shrike. I'll show you in a bit. So if you wanted to wrap it to something, they give you 2 pieces of 3M tape, which are, you know, every hobbyist should have double-sided tape for there as well. Then it says you can use anything from a 2S to a 6S LiPo with a JST connector. So I was using this small 450 milliamp JST, and I drove the tank around for over an hour, and this battery still had 70% left. So, and I was only at 25 milliwatt. So like, this is more than enough. Or what a lot of people would do, make yourself a little lead from the balance port of your battery to a JST end, and then plug it into the same flight pack, because if you're flying at most of the guys are going to fly at 25 milliwatt, it shouldn't kill you, and then you get shouldn't kill your flight time too much, like any noticeable difference. And then that'll do it for that. So let's get back to me. That was all the pictures, main live. So here I am. So let's show you some of the footage. So the other day, first thing I did when I took it out, well, I got you here. First thing I did taking it out, I wanted to put it on the tank. So I took my T-72, and what I did, I had a little neodymium magnet. No, I don't know if I pronounced that right. Neodymium magnet, but if you remember on the tank videos, your IR sensor is magnetic. Every tank has a little spot for a magnet. So I just used the 3M tape and said, let's start there. And it just clipped in, and then I just took the battery with some double-sided tape, and I just double-sided it, taped it back here. I wanted to be on the turret, and you know, it just ended up working out perfectly. So let's go to the footage. Now the footage comes in again at what the camera outputs at. It only outputs at 480p, which is fine for, you know, you're not using your FPV camera, let's say, to make cool YouTube videos. This is what you're seeing, you know, in the goggles. So it does give you the telemetry at the bottom. So these are my kids who got all excited about the tank running around. But, you know, it shows you your channel. So I was on A1. It's got the time, so the 4 minutes and the rolling time. The second you plug it in, the timer starts going. Gives you your battery power, battery voltage in there. And the 25 is your milliwatts. So if I was at 200 milliwatt, that would say 200. If I was at 400 milliwatt, that would say 400 milliwatts. So, you know, this is just the view from the top of a tank. And I was so excited with, you know, just thinking, oh man, I can't wait to have, you know, I can't wait to have tanks to ride around with. And, you know, like to have tank battles with, I'm sorry, because it would be one thing to line of sight tanks, but when you can't see peripherally, you get other people, you know, you get other people to then again, you know, you never know when somebody would pop out. So I could just envision our little, you know, tank town and going to battle with the tanks. So absolutely fun. And then I ended up driving this thing. So look at the bottom right corner. I mean, 23 minutes straight on the regular pack, by the way. I was more impressed that this tank, I drove it for 32 minutes all around the other day and never shut it off. Just left the recording on. And, you know, I was just as impressed with the tank battery as I was with the, you know, with the life of your FPV battery. But you can get an idea. If you got 2 of these systems and 2 kids, hand them tanks, I mean, imagine how much fun they would have just driving around. So then this is, you know, coming into the studio, if you will. And there's the set, just driving through. You know, it was a lot of fun to drive tanks because they're slower. You know, they're not gonna, you know, you're not going by too fast. You're just sort of sitting there and enjoying and having fun. And then there's my tank house building that I was working on for Jonal, which is gonna have to be on hold for a little while. Now let's get to some air stuff. Then I also put it on the Shrike, and I just went to a local open field. I mean, I found a spot around here that has about 6 football fields wide, you know, running around. So, you know, tons of open space. There were a few kids there playing soccer, but I figured the Shrike is a glider. I was going to stay up high and not get in anybody's way, you know, and it's pretty timid. But it was exciting, once again, to put on the goggles and just sit down on the grass and FPV. Something like a glider is perfect platform. That's why I think the Shrike is like a perfect platform, because it's not too fast. Long flight times on small battery packs, and, you know, nothing too dangerous could happen. I mean, even if I lost my motor on this thing, I would just glide it on home. You know, it was a lot of fun. It was fun because I hadn't flown in a little bit with the fields closing down. But again, just to put the goggles on a beautiful day was absolutely awesome, and a different type of experience for you know, for everybody. So it goes to black. Sorry, it cuts to black when the video pops off. So if you lose me a bit, then, but here's some more flying footage of it. But again, something worthwhile for people. So you would see the telemetry on the bottom and such. Again, this is exactly what you're going to see in the goggles. But you can see I'm not losing any signal this whole time. You know, minor glitches, but I was only on 25 milliwatt by myself, and that's a pretty big field. Like, I'm standing right there and, you know, at one corner of a football field, and I was really going out there. I don't know how many people are going to be flying any farther away from themselves than I was here at there just to test. But also, I didn't want to get too crazy and actually lose signal. It wasn't until I got super, super duper high that I noticed some glitching like you'd see there. But nothing that ever made me fear that I was going to lose signal. Because one thing I will say, with FPV, it's always going to happen. At some point, you're probably going to either forget your battery, like anything else, that your battery's not charged, your camera will go out. And the worst thing about the FPV goggles, you will pull them off to think you're going to look at to find your plane, and you're just going to be blinded by the sun. So when you are flying FPV, you know, be wary. A lot of that flight, I did take the goggles off. I just wanted to record, so I was staying line of sight because, you know, we're out there at a park, and so you want to have a partner, you know, have somebody there, because if something does go wrong, somebody who can grab the sticks from you and land your aircraft. You know, it's always best to do that. Like when I go back to the field on a normal occasion, I'm going to have Alex there with me if we're FPVing. Like I stand there with him and somebody stands there with us. So yeah, and like GB says, the point of reference, that was I'd never been to that field before. So I went up, and the first thing I did was try to just visualize, all right, I'm there. But you could very easily forget where you are if you get too enveloped in, you know, just the gorgeous scenery. Because one thing about Georgia, a lot of that area, it's all flat. So as you turn around, everything kind of looks the same. So, you know, I was kind of diving down to try to find myself a couple times, or listening to see if I could hear my plane when I revved up the throttle. So again, just if you're at your normal flying field, you'll probably have a good idea of, you know, how your area looks around you, but definitely take an idea and use a spotter. If you're going to fly FPV, it's always best to use a spotter. But I'm excited because having these goggles, it was fun to put, you know, I was able to drive the tank and have one of my kids just take a ride. Because, you know, every pair of goggles could all watch the same signal that somebody else is doing. You know, it's not like they work exclusively with each other. So the goggles are just picking up the signal. So either way, it's a great system to get started with. And yeah, and the functionality on it. So like I said, with the camera, so now with the camera, now I'm going to go over to this handheld camera. I know it's not always the best as far as, here we are, as far as it does the autofocusing. So the camera is really small, and I was trying to think of a way to show you better. But I hope you guys get an idea. But there's a little button right there. So that little button, it's going to work. There are 3 different things you could change on the camera. So first, if you just light press the button, it's going to change the channel. So when you plug in the camera, you'll probably be on band A. Every time you push this, it will change the camera to channel 1 band A, A1, A2, A3, A4, A5, all the way to A8, and then back to A1, and it'll just keep cycling through. When you long press the button for 2 seconds each time, that'll change the band. So you have band A, B, E, F, and race band. Race band came out during the drone racing days, but that's how you would change the band. And then a super long press, which would be a 4-second press, that's going to change your output power. So again, as we said, there's 4 different settings. So if you're in the pits, because the one thing about FPV, it sort of goes back to the days of old radio frequencies, where if you were in the pits and you plugged in and you were on the same signal as a guy flying, you just took over his plane and he's crashing. Same thing was happening with FPV way back in the day. Guys were working on their drones at these early drone races that me and Alex used to go to. Somebody would plug in the pits, and somebody racing out there on the course would lose signal and smash their drone, and fights would ensue. Verbal warfare would ensue, and nobody ever would find out who did that. So they have a pit output power, which is just 0.1 milliwatts. That'll give you enough power to make sure that your goggles are on the right band. Then you have 25 milliwatt, which is what I was flying at. And it's going to be fine if you don't live in, if you have no fear of frequency, if you don't live near big antennas or big, you know, losing the word, but, you know, anywhere where you think frequency be an issue. And if you want more, then you could go up to 200 milliwatt or 400 milliwatt. And again, all your heat sinks are exposed, so this baby would get hot. So I wouldn't think you'd ever need 200 milliwatts on a tank, and a tank drives so slow that you're not going to get the air coming over it. So stay at 25 milliwatts. You don't want this baby sitting there. But like something like the Shrike or a plane, if it's exposed camera, then you know, at least it's getting cooling. Same way as your ESC would need cooling, or your motor. You want the cooling on your electronics in your aircraft. So you know, perfect. You could go to those higher output levels on there. So then, like the Shrike, again, I show you, I just quickly, all I did was cut a little bit of the foam out. I buried a piece of like a popsicle stick, kind of the big popsicle sticks. I cut a little piece, and then I Velcroed it. So I got the 3M tape on the bottom, and then like a backrest for the camera, because I didn't want the thing to blow off as I was flying. And then a little hole, put my JST right through the back, and I just used the 450 milliamp and a 1600 milliamp pack in the Shrike, just fit right next to each other, right on the CG. And a 1600 milliamp pack on a Shrike is it's like 20 minutes worth of flying time if you're just gliding around and having fun. So again, overall, I was really impressed with it. It's been a long time since I got into FPV. I used to fly the Fat Shark stuff, and Alex does it, but like, you know, he's got the one quad he does. We're not really using it any more than just for the chase stuff. So it was cool to get back into it, and I'm excited for Alex to get back, because now he's been dying to fly planes, and he does it so sporadically that it's hard to get used to the orientation. But now I'm going to slap some of these on some of our, you know, like the Shrike. Alex is going to be fine flying a plane around. Anything FPV, the kid's a video game whiz. So Second you put FPV on a plane, you watch your little kid just is going to pick it up, because right is right, left is left. As long as they understand how far they can go and the perimeters of your flying field, then, you know, FPV is also a good way to kind of start people, kids, especially if you're playing first-person shooter type games. That is exactly what FPV was good for. So, guys, I can't believe it's already 12:45. So now let's get to some questions. I didn't really get a chance to look at the screen too much because I wanted to show, you know, a little bit of that stuff. So let me know what questions you might have if I didn't answer them while we're here. And if you're going to ask a question, just drop an emoji with the question because it'll let me see it a little easier. But I'm not even sure how many people here. 81 people here. Thank you so much for joining. You know, last week was crazy when we were in the live chat with the OV10. There's like 500 people in there at one point, or 600 people, and that gets insane. So that's why it was better to not do that live, because I never would have been able to even see the questions. So me and Alex and Alpha said, I have the build video filmed, I have the flight video filmed, we have that hype, our sizzle reel filmed. Let's just air that and be live in the chat, and then if people want the real questions, they'll go to Hobby Squawk, and we can have more time to write our answers down. Because I remember doing that T-33 release, and when I looked over at the chat and there's 700 people commenting, you know, it's impossible to see. So Jeff, thank you so much. Great show. Thank you so much. And my wife, I got a haircut. My wife cut my hair. I was nervous, but it's still there. Doesn't look terrible. YouTube's a heck of a thing, because she watched one YouTube video and cut my hair, so I was nervous. GB, yeah, the OV10, super fun, man. The OV10, I'm excited about the OV10 when I took it off, in that I do like high-wing Cubs. You know, I always enjoy, who doesn't love a big, fun, you know, high-wing Cub that could have floats or big tires, and you could just bring it out there in 20-mile-per-hour wind. You know, in a way, the Tiger Cat was fun in the wind, but for the most part, on a windy day, there aren't too many scale aircraft that you want to bring out, you know, and risk in that way. But the OV10, the way the wing shaped, the way the power was, the stall capability, I'm excited that now I have a scale platform to run out there on those windy days. I mean, just on the day we were getting cross breezes. You saw, I mean, I was coming in for a touch ago and a cross breeze hit me, and it was fun. You know, it was fun to point the nose on this thing into the wind and see. And I didn't want to risk it. Obviously, we only have one, so I didn't want to smash the thing and not be able to finish our media for it. But now that the media's out there, it's done, I'm going to get a little more aggressive with her, you know, for more videos coming, because we still have till June, till she drops. So we'll get out there more. And Charlie OV10, I wanted to thank him so much. Charlie's big help for us. Charlie Brown is based in New York, and he's been a squawker for a long time. And he had been to Neffy, I think, a bunch of times. I don't believe we've ever met personally, but we've talked a lot through Squawk. And his name is Charlie OV10, and he was dying. So when Alpha announced it this was the next flight line one, when he told me, I went to him, and he's like, I'm already on it. We're sending one to Charlie, and we're letting Charlie answer a bunch of questions through. What's the price point on the bigger goggles, James? Alex, if you could share some of the links. So each goggle set has two options. You either just get the goggles by themselves and then get a camera, or they come in a bundle. This bundle of this side already sold out, which is crazy, but we still have the goggles and the camera separately. But I think the bundle, so for the most expensive set with the bundle was like $139, but the camera itself is $39.99, I believe. And then like this pair of goggles itself is $69.99, and I believe these goggles by themselves are $109.99. So, you know, because they're a little bigger, a little more, you know, a little better resolution, but all overall, for what you're getting, the only thing you're going to need is a JST pack. So if you don't have a JST battery, that's the only thing you'll need, and that's just for powering the camera, because these have internal batteries. So real quick, I'll plug it in for you while I'm here. So let's do it with the tank. So I'm going to point the tank, you know what, I'll point the tank back at me. And that was moving down. And then we'll use the handheld one here. I'm going to pull this over. And let's start with the big guy first. So first things first, I'm going to turn on, let me switch here, I'll fade. So here, you see me here? So I'm going to turn on the goggles, and that is just done by long pressing the barrel of the gun. So I'm going to move that, barrel gun's there. So we long press that, so I'll show you inside quick. Push and hold, boom, there you go. So now, let's see, I'm gonna put this down for a second just because, oh, can you see? Ah, there we go. You can see in here while I plug in the camera, and I already have the channel. You know, once you have the channel set, you don't have to redo the channel ever again if you don't want to. So I already have it set. It should come on immediately, plugging in the tank. And there you go. So let me move this out of the way. And now you're looking through the tank, looking at me. Looking back at you. It's like 8 levels of Inception, but I'm trying to, this is hard to do here. Get this thing out of the way. Hold on. There you go. Get the straps out of the way, and you could sort of see, there it is. There's my telemetry at the bottom. So I plugged in the camera 26 seconds ago. I got 25 milliwatts, and I'm on, channel A1. So now let's say you plugged in your goggles. I'm going to change the band. I hit the band button. So now you see it's getting worse, and then we're going to hit the channel. So now let's say I plugged in and I was seeing something like this and be like, that just doesn't look clear. I'm trying to change here. I'll hit the search button. So now I hit the search button, and it's going to go through every single channel until it finds what band and channel is the strongest frequency. Once it finds that, it just locks in. So there you go. So then it's done. Like, you only have to hit that once, and then it just locks in. And then, if you're still seeing this, if you hit the menu button, you get your menu. So you could change the color, the contrast, the sharpness, let me hit that again. The brightness, the contrast, the color, the sharpness, the backlight, the volume if you have audio. Your recording size, this had VGA, D1, and HD. I went right to HD, but that'll all be determined on what camera it's getting information from. So, it's only going to record one way for the most part. Recording sound on, but I would turn that off because you're not getting sound. There's no speaker on this camera if you're using this setup. Recording time, you could have it record for 3 minutes clips, 5-minute clips, 10-minute clips. And I think that's about it, but it'll always, so like when I brought in this footage, it was a bunch of 4-minute clips, but you could link them all together if you're trying to throw it, throw it up on YouTube or something. Then you could format your card, you could change the language and version and default number, but very easy to change anything you need to change, with the goggles just by hitting some buttons. Like there's nothing hard about it. So now you see this is still on. I'm going to plug in the other one while I got you here, and you're going to see the same thing. So let me move this out of the way. Just the screen's going to be a little smaller, but I'm telling you, when you're under the hood, you're so immersed because there's no light getting in. There's only one thing to look at. Like you see the exact same thing. And again, the menu button, the menu feature, a little smaller on the menu, but when your head is in there, you'll be able to see it's got all the same, the same features we just went through on the other one. So nothing different at all. And it has the auto search function. So if I change the channel, and you can see, like, so if you plugged in and you saw that, just hit the search button, and it's going to start cycling. And it cycles through all 40 frequencies. It takes, a couple seconds to do it. And you can watch it. That little red that you can't see in the middle is telling you each channel as it goes through. And then it just locks you in. So when you're right there, that's, and obviously you want to be close to your signal, but that's going to give you exactly what you need to find your signal. So if you've never tried FPV, man, I would say it's awesome. Now, one thing, again, because of the heat of that camera, so like the OV10, I'm excited to FPV. Let me just turn these off for a second. So plan on using these in a little bit. Don't want to waste the battery. We're off and unplug the camera. So again, getting back to this, because this is a fully exposed unit, and it does get hot. You know, it will get warm. Underneath a canopy, so let's say like the T33. Hopefully this doesn't fall off on me. If I wanted to FPV the T33, and I want to use this, you know, I'd probably remove the pilot, build myself a stand, but I'm going to need some cooling in there. Because if you put this inside your canopy and don't have any air going in, this camera's going to get really, really hot. And the air in there probably gets super hot. That's why it bubbles. You know, that's why your foam bubbles. Not necessarily just the sun coming in, but it gets extra. It's just circling stagnant air inside that canopy. And that's what bubbles your canopy foam super fast and worse than anything else. So what Alpha was saying is, you know, you probably want to drill a hole somehow, like, because if you're getting coolant where your battery is, get a hole, smaller hole in the front, a wider hole in the back, so air could come in and escape, you know, and give the cooling that you would need if you're going to go through a canopy like that. So I'm going to have to think about that with the OV10. The OV10 has the big canopy, which is going to make FPV super fun in it, and even putting it on a servo. You could put your camera on a servo, put the servo on a little slider, turn left and right, or have that servo go with your rudder. A lot of people did. So when you hit the rudder, you can turn in a warbird, you know, like there are ways to do it. And then there's some advanced goggles that have actual head tracking in it. So when you move your head, the camera will turn left, right, and, you know, other ways. So that's also cool, but, you know, not a feature of this, but you could just use a regular standard servo with like your slider knobs on the side and give yourself a really cool, you know, experience in a warbird. I definitely did that in a B-17 back in the day, and now I want to do it with the B-24. Is like the right platform for FPV. Something nice, big, slow, you know, and give you a chance to appreciate what you're looking at, you know. That's always the fun of it. Inertia has DVR footage. Yeah, man, check it out. Just post that up. You know, now we accept FPV footage on the customer community and Hobby Squawk, you know, like any information you guys have. So that about does it. Alex posted a lot of the links, guys, to all the FPV. You can find it. It is Xwave. Xwave is our own brand. You know, we started with the retracts for some of the balsa kits. You know, we're going to have a lot of products that start populating in the Xwave name, and we're excited that these two sets of goggles are available for you guys to check out. So depending on your price, if you really just want to get started, you know, jump on something like this, a camera, and give it a shot. It's really, 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 really fun. And even if you're too scared, like with the Shrike, like you don't have to maybe take off with the goggles on, you know, throw your plane out there, get an idea of where it is, and then just slide the goggles down in front of your face, you know, and take over from there. And then I did it a couple times where I was like, where am I? And I pulled the goggles off and had no idea, you know, real quick where I was until I saw myself. So again, orientate yourself to it. But we just figured FPV was a great option with the tanks coming. We got the boats coming. I mean, I can imagine how fun it would be. Maybe not on a speedboat because you have to find a way to not get it wet. But like a battleship, I don't see why a battleship wouldn't work with you know, with an FPV camera. Something nice and plotting. If I'm sitting on the beach and just driving around, and the perfect where I could see, you know, the decks of my battleship in front of me and go fly, that would be awesome. Are these goggles compatible with glasses? It depends. I mean, it depends on the glasses. You know, all glasses are different. I know for, you know, back in the day, it's tough to wear glasses and, you know, and get something like this on. So, but, you know, that's one of those tougher things. You're going to have to test it. So if you have contacts maybe, then, you know, that would be the best bet. But that's something that I can't answer here live right now. Oh, so guys, we've got 2 minutes left on here. So what I wanted to say, yeah, Inertia's right. Box goggles are a lot better for people with glasses, because I do have like the Fat Shark goggles. They're expensive, they're nice, they're sleek, but they're two different screens inside each you know, each eye cup. Whereas this is just one screen. You're just looking at, you know, a screen. So it does work. But I wanted to get into, guys, what we're going to be doing next week. So People have asked. We're getting back to the factory next week, guys. Alpha's going to join us, and we are going to tour the Freewing factory again. Last time we just talked about the paint applications, but check out some of this footage Alpha had sent to us. Alex been cutting it up like a champ all week, and we're piecing it together, and Alpha's going to walk us through a bunch of different aspects of how foam aircrafts are made. We know a lot of people really enjoyed that episode. That was episode 5. So if you wanted to go back into our YouTube playlist and see that, then by all means you can watch. He explains how the painting process is done, the molds of that. But now you're going to get a chance, now you're going to get a chance to see a lot more of the factory and the production of coming out of the actual molds. I remember when Alpha shared this footage with us, it was so cool to see because it was something I had never seen, up close and real, like that. And Alpha got in there with his own camera and, sliders. He was having fun one day just running around. Probably all the employees are like, what are you doing, Alpha? Filming around here. But that's what we're going to do next week. And, Alpha will walk us all through. So I'll start a Hobby Squawk thread probably today, since we know what next week's show is. I finally know a week before what next week's show is going to be. So I'll start the thread on Hobby Squawk. If you guys have any questions about how factory, works or how planes are made, jump in there and, No, pay it forward, not FMS. It is Freewing. FMS is not, we don't sell FMS. Freewing is the factory you'll be seeing. But, get in there and ask any questions you want in Hobby Squawk. So at least I could get them prepared. I could show them with Alpha, because I'll ask the Hobby Squawk questions to Alpha live next week first, before we then, try to take live questions there. Because once I start sharing this out, I think next week's show is going to get a lot more viewers, because who doesn't want to see this type of stuff? This is really cool, regardless of what company you enjoy. I haven't seen another company ever show as much footage as we have behind the scenes, and you're about to see a whole lot more of it. So, Spinny, Banhammer on Pay It Forward. I'm only kidding, man. It's just, just want to say we're Freewing. We are not FMS. But, guys, it is 1:01. I can't believe how fast this time went by this week. So, next week, factory tour, live with Alpha in the studio. Well, not live with Alpha. I've never seen his face myself. So live, Alpha will be on the phone talking about the footage that you're going to see of the factory tour. And then probably the week thereafter, I should have that Bronco all repainted up, and then we can go around her and bring her back in memory. And hopefully I had a chance to take her out and fly it again, because I do. Right now, I just can't, like everyone else. So kind of just stuck in a rut. But guys, I hope you guys are enjoying quarantine with your families and, getting things done as best you can. And I hope, nobody's been too affected by what's going on out there. And hopefully we push through onto the next. But thank you, Alex, for sharing the links. Thank you, everybody, so much for joining us like every Friday at 12 p.m. We can't thank you more. Hit the like button if you haven't. That helps us out. I hate asking you to do that. It sounds dumb when I do. But if you can hit it, that's awesome. And, we'll see you guys next time at Motion RC Live. Where do I say thanks? There it is.